Welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. My name's Radha. I'm here with our family of seekers, and we are reading through the Bhagavad Gita verse by verse. We took a week-long break. I took a group to Costa Rica, and we missed each other. The separation was real, and it's so nice to be back here with you guys. Just such a steady family that we have here in our spiritual quest. So thank you for being here. And for making the effort, spiritual life is a lot of effort and it's blissful, it's ecstatic, it's all the things. But at the same time, we have to put in the effort. It's not, it doesn't always come easy. So making this commitment to get up, Monday, Thursdays, come here together at 7:30, that's big, and I know that many of you, most of you, if not all of you, are experiencing the transformation from coming together and doing this twice a week together in the association of like-minded souls. So it pays off. I know it pays off for me, all the time that I put in, even, it pays off tenfold. So it's great to be back with you guys. It's so great to be back with you guys. And let's just get right into it. We are starting in chapter 10. We're on the home stretch of chapter 10. Chapter 10 is the opulence. It talks about the opulences of Krishna. And for a good amount of the chapter, I mean, almost like half of the chapter, is listing these vibhutis, these special manifestations of Krishna. So what Krishna's doing here is looking at a particular category of something and choosing the most powerful or the greatest among that category and saying, that is me. And when he does that, the purpose in him doing that is to help us to see Krishna everywhere. So that's really the goal. We're trying to develop these spiritual lenses of which we see the world so that we see Krishna in the ocean, right? Among bodies of water, I am the ocean. Or we see Krishna, when we see a great mountain. It just goes on and on. And anything that we're doing, any person that we're encountering, any quality that we're coming across, the goal is to link that back to Krishna. And in that way, when we make that connection, we're becoming closer to Krishna. And that's why it's called Vibhuti Yoga. It's these special manifestations that draw us closer to Krishna. And it's so beautiful. The Gita gives us so many different ways to reestablish our relationship with Krishna, with divinity. And that's really what this life is about. That's really what this life is about, is remembering our identity as a part of Krishna, as that spark of that spiritual fire, the spiritual flame, and reinstating our relationship with him. So that's why we all come here together to do that, to practice that, to remember. So we'll start in chapter 10, text 34. Before we do that, Shraddhanjali, do you want to say our prayers for us?
You're muted.
Sorry. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Vanchakopa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gora Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. When you're ready, do you want to read text 34 for us?
Um, I thought we were on 29.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, I'll read 34.
Let me look a little bit while you do that.
I don't remember reading about the sharks.
29. Um, does anybody else remember? Does anybody else remember? Um, I think we read Prahlad, right? We
We
talked
did
about
read Prahlad.
Prahlad. So that was 30.
And the
Um,
winds and the
and we talked
shark.
about the winds.
Okay.
Yes, we did talk about
Okay.
that. That was 31.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I apologize. My bookmark was just there.
Yeah,
Um,
and then we talked about the compound words. Okay, so yes,
oh,
we
the
are at 34.
compound words. Yeah, right. I remember the compound words.
Yes.
Sorry, everyone. Mrityo sarva haraskaham udbhavascha bhavisyatam kirtihi shrir vakcha narinam smritir meda driti kasma. I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience.
Thank you. So let's start with death. What do you guys think? Let's start with death. Krishna says, I am all devouring death. And this is pretty humbling, in a world where people can steal your money, your things, but honestly, what is the biggest thief? And that is time. It's death. Because death doesn't just take one thing, it takes everything. It takes your roles, it takes your identity, your titles, your achievements. All of it is gone in just a moment. Everything that we spend so much time building and protecting, it all just disappears with death, isn't it? So if this is the reality, you know, um, if this is the reality, it forces a deeper question, like what actually stays? What are we working for? Because we know it's not our bank account, it's not our job, it's not even our bodies. But what stays is this inner state, our consciousness. This is what travels with us from body to body, our consciousness, our desires, our karma. That's it. Okay, so death is like the most thorough reset. And this is what's beautiful about spiritual progress. It's not all or nothing when we think about spiritual progress. Material progress kind of is, or even more honestly, material progress is kind of like all for nothing. And this becomes really clear when you look at how these two types of progress, how these two different types of progress work. When we think of all or nothing, we usually think of situations where you win, you get everything. You lose, you get nothing. It's like a high stakes exam. You either pass and get the job or you don't. Or in extreme situations like a war, there's a winner and there's a loser. And this is very clear. The winner gets everything, the loser gets nothing. And sometimes spiritual life is compared to a battle. A battle against temptation or distraction, our own lower tendencies. In this metaphor, it's helpful because it reminds us, we do need effort. We do need awareness. We can't just be completely passive because if we're passive, like a distracted soldier can just be taken down. A distracted spiritual practitioner can fall into habits or choices that they don't feel good about. And if we take that too far, it can actually feel a little bit intimidating. Okay, but here's the really important part for us to remember. The spiritual life, it's not all or nothing. It's not like I messed up, so I lost everything. It's not like I'm not perfect, so what's the point? This isn't how spiritual life works. And the Gita tells us this. The Gita explains that any spiritual effort we make is never lost. Even if we fall down, even if we get distracted, even if we take a few steps back, whatever connection, whatever awareness, whatever attraction to something higher that we've developed, it stays with us. Even if we get a little covered for a while, that doesn't disappear. And then the moment that we do reconnect through something like hearing wisdom, through chanting, through being in a space like this, it comes back. It's like learning to ski or riding a bike. Once you develop that muscle a little bit, that skill, even if it's dormant for a little bit, as soon as there's some kind of stimulus that activates it, all of a sudden we remember. It just kind of comes flooding back. This is spiritual life. We continue right where we left off. So this spiritual growth is incredibly forgiving. This is such a beautiful part about spiritual life. We don't have to worry so much. We want to try. We want to endeavor. We want to stay steady. We want to stay consistent. Right? We want to build that muscle up, that consciousness muscle as much as we can. But we don't have to be too hard on ourselves. If we slip, if we fall, if we don't get all of our don't get all of our rounds in on days as much as we wanted to, it's okay. Okay, we're not going to go backwards. We may just stand still for a while, but we won't go backwards. We'll get that same, whatever progress we made is preserved. Material life doesn't work this way. Material progress is actually very risky because not only can we lose, but even when we win, we're ultimately going to still lose in the end. So like if you work really hard for something, a position, money, recognition, even if you get it, time is eventually going to take it away. Death is eventually going to take it away. So in this regard, it's not just all or nothing. It's really all for nothing in the long run when we really zoom out. So when we understand this, two things happen. First, we stop putting all of our energy into material success as if it's everything. And second, we start valuing spiritual growth more deeply. We stop taking it for granted so much, understanding that it's the one thing that actually stays with us. Everybody's worried about like life insurance, but once you go, it's like, what does it matter? I mean, it's important to take care of your loved ones, absolutely. But this investment, your investment in spiritual growth, is the one investment that you can make that will just keep compounding interest, that you actually get to take with you. Your spiritual bank account, you get to take with you. Nothing else you do. All your other bank accounts are going to stay here. And this is empowering because it means nothing you've done here, nothing you've felt, nothing you've realized is going to be lost. Even if life gets messy again, this stays with you and you can always keep coming back to it. So this is reassuring. And this is such a call for all of us. Some of us just got back from this really high retreat and we are so high. And it's really easy to feel so high in the association of like-minded people, when we're just doing kirtan all the time and having these super inspiring talks and just everybody's connecting and it's really easy to feel high, but when we come home, all of a sudden we're confronted with this responsibility, that responsibility, I have to do this, all the material obligations and things that are expected of you and roles and responsibilities. And it's so easy to just get pulled under by all of those things. and to make those things the purpose of life and to kind of put our spiritual practice aside, like maybe later when I have time, or I don't have time today. Let me just focus on this. And then before we know it, all of a sudden it's like some of those things that really kept us connected and high have just really kind of taken a sideline. So this point that we're learning here in the Gita is so important. This perspective, for us to understand that your spiritual bank account is the only bank account you can take with you. You don't get to take your house, you don't get to take your car, you don't get to take your prestige, you don't get to take your recognition, you don't get to take your beautiful body. None of it. It's all going to be gone. But your spiritual bank account stays. So why not invest in the safest, most long-term investment? Why not? So we have to maintain this perspective. We have a tendency to just only see what's in front of us. Right? But spiritual life is really stepping back and seeing and having much broader perspective, understanding this. This is why it's worth it. This is why your spiritual practice is the most important, meaningful way that you can spend your time. Because it's just your interest is just compounding, 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 and you get to take it with you. And the rest of your life, we don't want to neglect it. The rest of your life is important. We get it. It's important. Your job's important. Your family's important. These things are important. But what we could even do with these things is dovetail them so that they're supporting your spiritual life, so that they become a part of your spiritual life. And in this way, you're fulfilling your material obligations, right? You're being comfortable, you're comfortable, peaceful in the meantime. And even though those things that you're doing are contributing to that spiritual bank account. Right? When you raise your family as a service to God, that's a contribution to your spiritual bank account. And you're fulfilling your material obligations. So it's like a twofer. So this is the goal. This is what we're trying to do in our spiritual life and our material life. We're trying to merge the two so that we can optimize the bank account that really matters, the long-term investment, so to speak. It's just common sense. It's just common sense. Do you guys want to share anything about this?
Hi, Paul.
Very well, Katie.
Radha, yesterday Gauravani said something sweet at Capitol Kirtan at DC Temple. Um, and he was like paramour, like when you have like a secret lover. Like, and he was saying, do all of your material things, like how you treat your loved one, how you are with your kids, like show up and do the best work you can, and all as best as you can. So people, don't really realize you have this like secret love affair with Krishna. That's like the ultimate best thing you're doing. So that just came to mind to share because it was just yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. Corvani is such a realized soul. Thank you. Nancy.
And I kept on thinking that, in the material life, my inner voice is always telling me I'm unworthy, I'm not enough. I wasn't successful enough in my career. I didn't make enough money. But if indeed I do believe that my spiritual life is the place that I need to be putting all my effort, and the idea that nothing is ever lost is, there's no reason to be dejected. There's no reason to have that inner voice say you're unworthy, which is so beautiful that if I can't do it right now, relax and it will come if that's the Krishna's mercy. So it's really a beautiful idea of being able to change the inner voice. So thank you.
Yeah, what a nice point. Yeah, it's like when we make that investment in our spiritual bank account, naturally our material bank account fills up. maybe in different ways than would have happened if we were filling it up directly, if we were going to the material bank account directly and filling it up. But it's just a byproduct of filling up that spiritual bank account. And what happens is the balance in our material bank account becomes more stable, more steady. It's just this is just the natural correlation between the two that happens. And I love that you pointed that out. If we can if we just focus on these spiritual principles that support our spiritual bank account, we don't even have to worry about the other. The material bank account will naturally fill in ways that we much higher than we could have ever really imagined. Yeah. You know, I was doing that before spiritual life, and I was working for the Navy. I was for a contractor of the Navy designing nuclear submarines, and my material bank account was filling. I had money, I had status, I had prestige. And when I left it all to engage in service full time, there was like a kind of an identity crisis there. Like, wow, who am I going to be when I just give all of this up? When I don't have this position, I don't have this prestige, I have much less money. Who am I going to be? It was very confronting for me. Like, but now on the other side of it, I see I'm so much more. I feel so much steadier, so much more grounded. I'm not so connected to results. I'm not so results orientated. I'm much more process orientated, much more, am I giving my all to what I'm doing right now? And is this a sincere act of love? And in that, just the deep the deep steady knowing that comes, just being grounded in yourself. It's like it's so much more valuable. It's worth so much more even in my material bank account than the other would have been. Poppy asks, "Good morning. Does being financially stable and having good health speed up the path?" Ooh, that's a good question. Does being financially stable and having good health speed up the path? Not necessarily. I would say yes and no to that. In one sense, it's important to have a peaceful life. Okay? If we don't have financial stability or good health, these things are going to distract us from our spiritual practice, right? We're going to be in constant anxiety of like, how am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to pay my bills? Right? Oh, my body, the pains in my body are bothering me so much. My mind is just restless. Right? So we do have to, just in support of our spiritual life, we have to seek some level of material stability. This is important. This is why, relationships are important. Family is important. We want to have a nice container to practice spiritual life. Or our body, our mind is just going to be very distracted. They're going to work against us. So yes, it's important that we do that. But we can't get so distracted thinking that that's the whole point, that those things in themselves distract us from what we're actually doing here. So we have to see it in right perspective. It's like you don't just buy a Ferrari so that it can sit in the driveway. You can wash it every day and show your friends, but you're too afraid to drive it. It's like that's a waste of a car like that. We have these vehicles. These vehicles have capacity for higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of connection. We need to use them like that. That's what they're designed for. We can't get so obsessed with taking care of the mind body package, washing the vehicle, that we don't drive it. That's not great use of the vehicle. So yes and no is the answer to that. Popey, does that make sense? Illness sped me up, actually. Wow, Shraddhanjali. Yeah, beautiful. And that can happen too. That's Krishna's mercy. It really helps put things in perspective. Jennifer, do you want to share something?
Yeah. I mean, great news that what we discover or obtain in our spiritual lives stay. But that's so much of my life, has been, that battle. So, I mean, for so long that battle, it just doesn't work anymore. Even that word doesn't work in my life. And I write every morning, and this morning my word was just armor. And in thinking of and that suiting up for battle, and when Poppy talked about illness, I'm going through some stuff and doing some chemo, and um, the chemo is that armor. But it doesn't know, like when we're wearing armor, if it's killing good or killing bad. It kills everything.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm at with in the battle. In my material world too. I've worn it for so long that I don't
Hmm.
know whether I'm keeping out good or bad. So
Hmm.
that's the big change that I feel, the big shift where I am right now, is like this is why equanimity is so important. That stillness is so important. So the changes can happen, and that I'm not forcing something with some pre-ideas or old ideas that I just have to adhere to. So illness has definitely rocked my world. But, I've always been a mover. I've always been in my body as a career too, and it's just not happening.
Hmm.
So I've been really mad, for it's like
Hmm.
really, really mad for about 3 months, really, really mad, and it's starting to subside. Um, but that armor is like it doesn't work because I don't know what I'm preventing things from coming in too.
Wow.
So that's I couldn't believe it when were talking about, that's where we are in the Bhagavad Gita. It's like, oh my God, that's exactly what I wrote this morning. So it never fails though,
Wow.
when we're reading this stuff. It never fails that we get exactly what we need.
Yeah. Wow. Really deep realization. Krishna is blessing you. I love the point you and both Shraddhanjali point out. Sometimes we think it's a curse, and we get angry. But as our perspective broadens, we're able to see this is actually part of Krishna's plan in bringing us closer to him. And to do that, sometimes it takes a little bit of roughing up, and it doesn't always feel good. We have to let go of these conceptions of who we thought we were and what brought us happiness. Sometimes it's gentle, sometimes it's a gentle evolution, and sometimes it's abrupt. It's like, oh, one day you can do this, next day you can't. And in that moment, where are we going to seek shelter? I mean, how is it? Are we going to be upset? Are we going to be angry? Are we going to be blaming? Maybe. But eventually, are we going to come around to the other side and see it for what it really is, which is a gift, an opportunity to really embrace life and the real purpose of it that God intended for us, and to minimize, to lessen the distractions that pull us away from it. Really nice. Thank you, Jennifer. Martine, I see you just joined us. Welcome, Martine. Yes, 1034. We're on 1034. We're talking about how death is is the end all. Death is the end all. And also Krishna. Death is the end all and also Krishna. Kelly, do you want to share something with us? I saw your hand up, Kelly. Kelly, we missed you in Costa Rica. Kelly was supposed to come with us and had to cancel at the last moment.
Sorry about that. I missed it. I'm glad y'all had such a nice time. I'm appreciating the question or the topic of financial and material comfort, having what we need. And I've had that question many times, and what I've come to understand from spiritual mentors is that the financial material comforts are an opportunity to allow for the time for spiritual practice. It puts you in a position to be able to focus on that more rather than constantly scrounging to make enough money to pay bills and dealing with all the stresses around that. And at the same time, that being so comfortable And that time can just be used towards other things. Like if there's less distress, there's less of a need to reach higher. There can be less of a need to search for something deeper because we're comfortable and we have what we need. And so we're not, reaching out, please, help me, like Krishna, somebody, something, help me. I'm lost and I need. And so it's while having those comforts is incredibly supportive if the person is either disciplined or in love enough to move towards Krishna, it can be, you can miss it completely. Whereas being in more of the struggle, there's more inclination to move toward higher support.
Hmm. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Kelly. And each one of us, Krishna has a blueprint for each one of our individual lives in terms of what we need to move closer to God. And it's different. It's different for everybody because we're also individual. We have incredibly unique, these mind-body packages, these machines. And so we have unique blueprints. And don't think that what's happening in your life right now is random. It's as soon as we opt in, as soon as we say, Krishna, I'm yours. Krishna orchestrates our entire lives to bring us back to him. As soon as we type Krishna into that GPS, Krishna gives us a custom path home to him. So whatever if you're dealing with something, if you're in kind of a low spot, your health or your finances or your job, know that it's part of Krishna's bigger plan to kind of wake you up, to shake you a little bit. Or if you're at a really high right now, if things are going well, and you're very comfortable in all regards, know that this is an opportunity for you. Krishna is arranging things in your life this way so that you have the time and the peacefulness for higher endeavors. And don't let that opportunity pass you up. Because if you do, Krishna will take it from you. So that you can learn, so that you'll turn back to him. So don't take these things for granted. And know that this is wherever you are is an opportunity to up level your connection with divinity. We say Krishna. Krishna's a word for God or source or higher being. It can be whatever your higher being is, divinity, universe. Okay, beautiful discussions. Thank you all. So the last point I want to say about this topic of death is we can kind of there's this idea that life is kind of like a disaster movie. Like you've got in a disaster movie, you have people running around like trying to save themselves, trying to save others, like everything's intense, uncertain, falling apart. And for us sometimes some of us are like attracted to watching these movies. But nobody actually wants to be in one. That's like everybody's worst nightmare, right? Where there's no guarantee of a happy ending. But if we really think about it, we'll see that in one sense, we're already in one. It's just in super slow motion. Because if you think about it honestly, like everyone in this room, everyone we know, 100 years from now, will all be gone. Like no acceptations, no exceptions, exceptions, no exceptions. This is like 100% casualty rate. None of us will make it past 100 years. But at the same time, we're not walking around feeling like we're in a disaster because it's happening in such slow motion. Like if a building was collapsing right now, we'd be fully alert. But because this life unfolds slowly, aging, loss, time passing, we kind of just look away. We forget where it's all heading. And also, we want to forget. That's the other part of it. We want to forget because thinking about death is uncomfortable. It messes with our plans, our goals, our sense of control, our ideas of all be happy when. So we just put it off. This is like one of the craziest things about life is that we just put off thinking about death. We just don't think about it. Right? But whether or not we think about it, it's still coming for us. It doesn't matter. You can put it away. It's just the to the degree that we're putting it away and ignoring the reality of it, the more abrupt and painful it's going to be when it happens, right? Or when it happens to our loved ones. Because time is moving. Yeah, the movie is still playing. And we're not just watching it. We should understand we're in it. We are the ones running around trying to build something permanent in a place that isn't permanent. And if this is the reality, it's heavy. It's a little bit like defeating. Okay, but this is where the Gita gives us a completely different lens. We don't have to be victims in this. We may not be able to stop the movie. We're not able to stop the movie, but we can step out of identifying with it. Let that land for a moment. We can't stop the movie, but we can step out of identifying with it. If we understand that death only affects the body, it doesn't affect the soul. And this isn't just a philosophical point, it directly affects how we experience life. Because when we live from the body level, of course, everything's going to feel fragile. Of course, everything's going to feel like it's slipping away. But when we start reconnecting with our deeper identity through things like devotion, awareness, spiritual practices, death doesn't feel like this terrifying end anymore. It becomes a transition, a shift, a return. So instead of life being this slow moving disaster, it becomes a journey where we're not losing everything, but we're actually preparing for something higher. And this realization should change everything about how we live right now. And it's really beautiful, because what most people run to as a solution for death is just not thinking about it. I was just talking to my mother yesterday because my grandma is 90 years old and she just had a stroke. Actually, when I was in Costa Rica, she had a stroke. And my mom's really scared. And I said, Mom, this is the opportunity. Let's go see her. Like, I'll go see her over Easter. Let's meet and see her. She lives in Michigan. So, because you never know, this once this happens, it can really, it's not going to go up from here when she's 90 years old. And my mom was like, no, don't say that. I don't want to think about that. And I'm like, Mom, we have to. We have to think about that. We don't have we don't have any control over it. It's going to happen. And and to the degree that we deny that it is and we just ignore it, we're missing the entire purpose of life. And the beautiful thing, the opposite is true. To the degree that we're tuned in and we know it's coming for us. We know that every day we wake up, we're aging, we're marching closer to taking our final breath. If we can really realize that, it can inspire us to utilize this life for what it was intended for. Right? To invest in the one investment that we'll ever have, the one bank account that will just keep growing and growing and growing and carry on with us for eternity. If we have that perspective, it's a gift. It's a gift, and we're cheating ourselves to when we try to act like death isn't happening, and when we ignore it, we're cheating ourselves, and we're cheating others. So, what do you think, Shraddhanjali?
I was just reminded of when Yudhisthira, who's Arjuna's brother, was asked, "What is the most wonderful thing in the world?" And Yudhisthira replied, "The thing that is most full of wonder for me is that everybody's walking around as if they're not going to die."
Yeah.
That
And
was just like, whoa.
yeah. And the same thing is pointed out across various spiritual traditions. I mean, this is a universal thing, and we can't deal with it. It's like the reality is we can't deal with it because the temporary nature makes us anxious. It makes us sad. It's so full of distress because we're not temporary. At our core, we're eternal. And we have that longing, that knowing inside of us. But at the same time, we're in this temporary package. So it's kind of like a psych, it's like if we over identify with this mind body package, we're going to suffer. So it's like
I
step out, stop identifying with the movie. Stop identifying with
Right.
the movie and understand the purpose of it all.
I was really struck by this verse in terms of Krishna says, "I am death." Now, there are people who do think about death a lot, like goth people. Like
Mm,
they get into that whole thing and they, have all this art around death and in a certain weird way or tamasic way, they're worshiping Krishna because he's death, you know.
mm,
And it's some people do think about death, but it's very strange. Um,
mm.
and often death and women are linked together. You often see artwork where there's death and the beautiful lady, which is also linked in this verse.
Yeah, should we go there? Should we go there before class ends here?
It is late. This seems like the second half of the verse is going to be really full.
Yeah. Okay, so when Krishna lists these qualities, he says fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, patience. He says these are me. And traditionally these are described as feminine qualities. Many qualities in Sanskrit language are considered feminine, and among them, these seven are the highest and represent Krishna. And men can also have these. It doesn't mean that men can also have these, but it just sense the way the Sanskrit language is, these are considered feminine. So when we see someone who speaks beautifully, who is deeply patient, who has strong memory or intelligence, who carries themselves with grace, Krishna is saying, that's also me. These qualities aren't random, they're expressions of divine energy. And this is also really beautiful. And the last thing, I think actually I went a little bit out of order, but in this verse, he also says, I'm the generating principle of all that is to be. This is really balancing to when he says that I am death. The same divine energy that takes everything away is also the source of all new beginnings. This is quite amazing. You can see this in bringing new life into the world. Sometimes people will try so hard to have a child and it doesn't happen. And other times it happens so easily. Why? Because we're not the ultimate controllers. There's a higher will involved. There's a divine sanction behind everything. So in this, Krishna's showing us, I'm not just in the ending, I'm also in the beginning. They say we're being like taken by the shoulders and just like shaken. Like, don't you understand? I am everything. Krishna's saying. We like to think we're the controllers. We got this. If I'm a little bit intelligent, I have a pretty good memory. I can talk pretty well. I like to think those are my qualities. This is me. No, 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 no. This is Krishna. And to the degree that we can start to wear these spiritual lenses around as we navigate our lives, our days, our relationships, we will be investing in that spiritual bank account. And naturally, our material bank account will be filling up as well. It's like, I think of when you go to the bank and you get a new bank account and they're like, if you put $100 in this, we'll give you, if you do this for this many months, we'll give you $300 in this bank account. It's like it just happens naturally. Anybody else like those deals at the bank? Those are great deals at the bank. This is what's happening for our spiritual bank account. Invest in our spiritual bank account, and your material bank account is naturally just going to fill. This is what happens when we develop these spiritual lenses of which we see the world. Does anybody want to share anything?
When you say material bank account will fill, do you
Yeah.
mean like um our bodily sense of peace and good behavior and all that kind of stuff, not necessarily dollars, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Maybe, maybe not dollars, but yes, what you said, our sense of peace, our sense of security, our sense of knowing who we are and who we're not, and and being okay with that. Right? Because that's ultimately what we're even looking for when we are trying to seek money in this world, when we're seeking prestige or recognition. Ultimately, we just want to feel happy. Right? We just want to feel fulfilled. We just want to feel loved. And we seek those things in this material world because we're misdirected. We think that those things are going to make us happy. And sometimes they bring a little bit of happiness. But ultimately, they don't bring the supreme happiness like we think that they will. And if we're lucky, we'll learn that in our lives. We'll get to that place where we say, wow, I worked so hard for all this fame. I went 10 years of school. I just worked so hard. I have all this money, all this prestige, and I am not happy. So, so yeah, material bank, yeah, just our level of happiness, because ultimately that's what we're seeking. We're just misdirected in the way to find it, and that's what comes out in all of these other material quests. But if we focus on our relationship with God, naturally that will fill in one way or the other. Yeah. Nice. Thank you for that clarifying point, Stella. Anybody else? So this is really the big takeaway of this verse. Whether we're looking at something as intense like death or something beautiful like intelligence or patience or grace, we can start to train our vision to see that this too is a manifestation of Krishna. And when we begin to see the world like this, naturally our mind starts to turn towards him and we start to redevelop that relationship with with our higher power. And that relationship alone solves all the so-called problems of our lives. We'll see the magic happen. It will happen. This has been my experience and the experience of so many others I know. So any final reflections from today?
I just want to say thank you, everyone. I have to leave for another call, but Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. So good to see you. Martine, it's so good to see you. Do you have any reflections you'd like to share with us?
No,
No?
I'm
No
tired
reflections?
still, to be honest.
That's fair. Martine was in
Yeah,
Costa Rica with us.
yeah, it was a long way back, but yeah, thank you. It's always, humbling, I think, to to slow down and take the time. I think I was thinking, the more you tense, the less you get,
Mm,
and the more you tense, the more you wear yourself off.
yes.
And you know, it's never too late, regardless of where we are. I think, or how we interpret the whatever we call, my position on all this. So,
Yeah.
um, the divine entity or whatever. But just, I think, just taking the time to really feel the ground under our feet, which was never my good suit. I was go, 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 trying to put off fires and, the tightness of anxiety and fear of losing it all, which we almost did with my husband many years ago, having two young kids, so you keep going. You just don't have the time, per se, to, because you feel that if you slow down, it's not going to happen, right? but it's in slowing down. But when you have all this responsibility, and I'm sure it's a universal concern for anyone, men or women, when you have responsibility in this world, we all do, we all do. And so that's, I'm in the phase of my life where I think I can say a luxury after working so hard to be able to slow down and pause and reflect and forgive myself, forgive others, and unpack and drop the baggage and, get to the point when that time goes, where whether it's tomorrow or 10 years or 20 years from now. I mean, for those of you, I just turned 70 the day we arrived in Costa Rica. So, it's a new, the idea of time now is like very, very short, right? And luckily I'm in good health, but it's bear to really take the time to take, how do you call it, stock. You can't go back and fix it. So you have to stop with the regrets, right? Because that doesn't help, right? And it's all about the verse you wrote, you read this morning. So, death is scary, regardless, because we don't imagine ourselves not being here. Let's face it, all of us, regardless of where we are on the timeline of life, right? But it's a fact. It's a fact. So, so it's good to take the time, I mean, people would ask me, what do you want for your birthday? I say, I don't want anything. I don't want anything. I'm trying to unpack all the material stuff. Don't give me more stuff. The time, I think as you get older, birthday is about, a retreat or having brunch yesterday with my family. I made it, thank God, with these crazy traveling things going on. That's what it's about, A friend of mine is in Morocco right now, and she said, what would you like for your birthday? I said, I don't want anything. Your friendship is the gift. So it's getting to that point to realize, and healing yourself. And you wish you can heal others. But I think maybe by shifting our own attitude, our own sight on daily, challenges, maybe it affects and it helps somebody else, So
Yes.
I wasn't going to talk today because I'm tired. I want to thank Kelly, by the way. I'm sorry you couldn't be there, but you gave me the opportunity to go. So thank you, Kelly. It was wonderful. Hare Krishna.
Wow, full circle. First full circle. Thank you, Martine. Katie, would you like to share with us?
Hi, Krishna. Thinking about retreats. And I love how we've heard many times, do something every day, every week, every year, with our spiritual practice. So thinking about Kay, come to the retreat in April. I think we still have spots, right?
Yes,
So
we do. We do. Our women's retreat at New Vrindavan in April. It's the 16th through the 19th. We do still have spots, so it's always such a wonderful time of connection, and it's so powerful. All these women get together, and we're going to be doing some super fun things this year. Like we'll do sound baths. We're going to have a mocktail and paint night. Lots of kirtan, lots of association. Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. So on the New Vrindavan website. Yes. Anybody else? Any final reflections from today?
So hi Radha.
Santiago.
Yeah, I'm just going to say thank you for sharing this space, and I feel that was like it's interesting to talk about like like the material world and also the spiritual. Yeah, because sometimes I feel that sometimes I thinking a lot just like in the material world, because we need to work to make basically money, but at the same time, like when I release that, when I start thinking like basically the result is on God, right? So um that create me like a lot of peace, because like yeah, sometimes we are just like taking life, it's like we need to pay bills. We need to basically to be healthy, to take care of our bodies and everything. Um, but I feel that if we just focus on that, it happened to me. It creates a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I finally just release, like say, like I can do my best, but I cannot control things basically. And then the other day I was thinking about that, like that basically everything that comes to me, like money or work or whatever, comes direct from God. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
it's His decision to give me whatever He wanna give me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was thinking about that, it's interesting to see that God give us everything, basically our health, like money, um, and that also I feel that is it's like a balance in between both, right? Like to try to, because yeah, of course, if we have like this balance, then we have the enough peace of mind in order to think about spiritual things. But at the same time, I feel like it's like attached, like it's like if you are doing well in your spiritual life, then also your material world is like working. So, and also like to have this space on Monday is really good to start like the week like this, because usually we have this mindset of Monday. Okay, I'm just thinking about like work,
Mm-hmm.
clients, and meetings. But then in this moment, like starting like with this spiritual space,
Yes.
yeah, it give me another sensation, saying like, okay, wait, like everything gonna be like good, all right. Basically, because the result doesn't depend on us. It's like depend on God, on whatever the movie is, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it gives me like another sensation of perspective about how to start that week.
Yes.
And then the other thing is like it's so true, like you never know when you're gonna die. Like maybe we
Yeah.
think like we have like a lot of years, but you never know what's gonna happen next, like
Yeah.
tomorrow, today, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel that it's good to have this consciousness, like our minds toward the spiritual realm, because basically sooner or later we're gonna die, basically.
Yes. Exactly.
So
I
yeah,
love
we.
what
Mhm.
I love what you said about this is the way we should start a Monday. We have to make the effort. We have to orientate ourselves to receive this spiritual perspective. Or our default mode is to go into our Monday stresses, clients, jobs, what we have to do. Important too, but let's first get the highest perspective, which is what we're all doing this for.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Beautiful reflection, Santiago. So happy to see you. Thank you for being here and being you. Thank you. Okay, my friends. Well, that is all. That is all for today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all Thursday to continue this journey, walking each other home together. Thank you. Thank you, Martine. Thank you, Popey. Thanks for our retreat comers.
Thank
And
you.
I'll
Hi,
hopefully see you on
Krishna.
Thursday. Laji, Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.